Hi guys, so today I'm going to go ahead and model what you should do when you're annotating for an AP prompt. So I'm going to pretend to be a student. This is my first time looking at the prompt, and I'm just going to show you what to do. So the first thing is I'm going to go ahead and read the information that the test gives me. So the passage below is from an opening of an essay. The author, Jamaica Kincaid, grew up on the Caribbean island. Ooh, and this is important, before it became independent from England in 1981. So that's pretty recent. It's 2018, 1981. Wow. So then I get into the prompt. What is it asking me? Write an essay analyzing rhetorical strategies Kincaid employs to convey her attitude toward England. So this is my big thing that I'm going to focus on, an attitude. I'm going to think of tone. So I'm going to put that down here so I don't forget. And specifically, we're focusing on England. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm actually going to read through the prompt once before I start annotating. So if you haven't read through the prompt, go ahead, take a couple minutes, pause the video, and read through the prompt. So I just finished reading the passage, and as I finished, the biggest thing that I noticed that stuck out to me, well, there were a lot of things, but the last sentence really struck me. I did not know very much of anything then, certainly not what a blessing it was that I was able to draw a map of England correctly. All right, so that was really important to me because she ended it much differently than the way she started. So, as I go through and read, I'm going to create a key for myself of big ticket items or rhetorical devices that I see that are creating a pattern that reinforce a big ticket item idea. All right. So in the first paragraph, I noticed that she's describing the map of England, and she was a child when she was looking at it. And I see the words gently, beautifully, delicately, and a very special jewel. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to box them. And in my key, I'm going to say that Kincaid might revere England, because that's the pattern that I see. And it lay on a bed of sky blue. That's a pretty color. It's like the heavens. And that's the background of the map. So then I start getting into this hideous description of leg of mutton. And I'm sort of confused at this point because she's contrasting two things. England is shown as a very special jewel, but then it's just this hideous like leg of mutton with veins and red and pink and green. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do a zigzag line for disgust. I'm also going to put imagery, because there's a lot of colors and it's very vivid. All right, so yellow, and then we've got our leg of mutton, and also this creates a simile. I'm just going to put that on the side so I know what device that is. Shadings of pink and green, and she uses pink and green again, and squiggly veins of red. All of that is just disgusting imagery. So as we go through, she repeats again that it's a special jewel and only special people get to wear it. Okay, so I notice that there's a pattern here. So I'm going to double underline any repetition that I see. So special jewel was up here, double underline that. Then we have special jewel here, and then we have the word special down here. The way she used it in the two, the bottom one seems more sarcastic to me at this point after I read the leg of mutton. Okay, so I might put sarcasm over here. And I'm going to put a question mark because I'm not totally sure. All right. Now the next part, as I read it, the people who got to wear England were English people. They wore it well and they wore it everywhere. In jungles, deserts, plains, highest mountains, oceans, seas, and places they were not welcome and places they should not have been. And that just seems very, I'm starting to get the idea that she doesn't necessarily like English people on her island. So I'm going to start tracking for the idea of resentment. And I'm going to put a triangle for whenever I see that tone being used. So let's see. In places they should not have been. And places where they were not welcome. Okay. So, teacher pinned up the map on the blackboard, and she said it with authority. She said this is England with authority, seriousness, and adoration. All right, so now she's using more of like, again, terms of authority, and they should be revering England. So now I have two ideas presented to me, and I naturally want to follow the idea of the fact that she would revere England and that she wants to be English and follow everything that England does, but I'm going to keep annotating and see what else I find. All right, so this is a really good analogy, and for an analogy I'm just going to put a big dot. So this is Jerusalem. So that is an analogy. And up here I'm going to put it in my key in case I find any other analogies. All right, so it's as if it's like the Holy Land and the place that you want to be. So we understood then, we were meant to understand then that England was to be our source of myth and the source of which we got our sense of reality. So again, she reveres it, and she also repeats our source, our sense. Actually, let me erase that, and I'm just going to put the word our sense, and then our sense of what was meaningless, and much about our own lives, and much about the very idea of us headed that last list. All right. Now that's very interesting to me because they live on an island, and I'm not sure, in a very different climate than England. So it's very interesting that the English are telling the Caribbean island what their sense of reality is and what was meaningful and what was meaningless. That's what really sticks out to me. All right, well, let's keep going. So she was still a child, she was sitting at the desk, and this gets into the part of what she does every morning. It's her morning routine. So she ate breakfast, which was a grapefruit, an egg, and that really seems misplaced to me. So I'm going to go ahead up here in my key, I'm going to put a circle. And that's gonna be my code for anything that represents that it's misplaced on the Caribbean island or it is stripping them of their identity. So a cup of cocoa, it's really hot. Why are they drinking cocoa? In a bowl of oat porridge, wouldn't you want some like fresh fruit in the morning that's like cold, or juice or something like that? I don't understand why they're drinking something hot on an island that's already hot. Okay, so that seems like it's misplaced to me. And it seems like a very English breakfast. So I'm going to write that down. English brekkie. That's breakfast. All right, so everything in front of her had the words "Made in England." And I noticed that while I was reading, that was repeated a lot. Made in England, these words, made in England, written on the box of oats, they were written on the box of shoes. All of these things were made in England, and that strikes me as the idea of consumerism. And I'm gonna go ahead and put a star up here. And label it as consumerism. So, box of shoes, gray linen. What else do we have? Box of oats. All right. And also the uniform. So the fact that she had to wear a uniform, to me this uniform is a symbol of what England is doing to the Caribbean island. They want it to become a uniform, just like they want them to be the exact same as England, like a carbon copy, which is stripping them of their own identity. All right. So I guess we can also circle it too. Making sure it follows our key. Okay, good. All right. So were the socks. They were also made in England, so I'm going to star them. Cotton undergarments and satin ribbon. Everything was made in England. It was all uniform. They wanted to be English. Also, her father, his shoes were made in England. So I'm going to double underline this, put a star on the shoes. And now I'm seeing a pattern. She doesn't see England in a positive light, but she unknowingly was stripped of her own identity. But she's a child, so she doesn't really fully comprehend what's going on when she was a child. All right, so shoes he wore to work were made in England. So was his khaki shirt and trousers and underpants. Look at all these stars. Undershirt, socks, and then a brown felt hat. Who wears a brown felt hat? And she goes on to explain that. She said it is way too hot for a brown felt hat. And not only that, another thing that I noticed that is being repeated is the term his. So it is his shirt and his socks, and I feel like there's another one. Oh, here we go. His underpants. And all of that shows possession. But the idea behind that is, if it is his, why is it not part of the Caribbean? Why is his identity all English? And why does it all come from England? It's like England owns him now, and he's not actually, he doesn't have control over his own identity. All right. Felt was not the proper material from which a hat was expected to be, to provide shade from the hot still should be made. All right. So here, I'm going to go ahead and circle all of this. Actually, I'm just going to circle felt was not the proper material because I could use that as evidence. All right, for the hat. So that is misplaced, so I circled it. All right, but no, father would have been seen as admired. So here I'm going to put revere again because the father admired the picture of an Englishman wearing such a hat in England. And that's a clue to me. Did other people revere England, or did they see it like Kincaid saw it? All right, so let me keep going. And then same thing, so compelling. And then again, wrong hat for a hot climate. Ooh, that's even better than the felt hat. Okay, so I did not know that statement, draw a map of England, was something far worse than a declaration of war, for in fact, a flat-out declaration of war would have put me on alert. All right, again, this is resentment. So I'm going to put a triangle here for that whole entire section. And I had long ago been conquered. She was stripped of her identity, and I'm also going to put a triangle because that's resentment. So I'm finding a pattern that she's resenting England because she's stripped of her identity, and not just her, but everybody on that island. And here's the repetition. I did not know, I did not know, and I think she says it again, I did not know. So she's too innocent to understand. She's young. All right. Here's another one that would be the very last sentence, I did not know very much of anything then, certainly not what a blessing it was that I was unable to draw a map of England correctly. And she takes us back to her very first sentence all the way up here, when she was looking at the map of England and how it is a blessing. And it's funny that she uses the word blessing to show that she resents England. Okay, so I just went through the Kincaid prompt. What I got out of it, if I even just look at my key without looking at all the marks that I made, the ideas that I found were that the islanders felt stripped of or Kincaid felt stripped of her identity, and because she felt stripped of her identity, she resented England, even though it was supposed to be revered, but she didn't see it that way. All right, so I hope this helped you. When you read a prompt, don't just force yourself to find something that's not there. Truly look at the prompt.